Hi everyone, Sandman here. This video is brought to you by a donation from Shannon, and she didn't give me a specific topic, so I'm going to cover a relatively recent BuzzFeed article titled, "This is what the average woman looks like in the year 2016. And it says that the average woman today wears a size 16 to 18. Just so that everyone knows, a size 17 is a woman that weighs roughly 190 to 200 pounds. So the average woman is now borderline obese. Also, let's assume that this larger-than-life woman is a 5 on the attractiveness scale if we consider this the new average. We also know that women only date up, so she's going to expect a man that looks at least like a 7. So the guy that wants to get the average normal-looking woman these days has to be an 8, 9, or possibly even 10 on the attractiveness scale, and he will have to stay at the top financially and physically to keep her because as the women around get fatter and fatter, she becomes increasingly attractive. If you line up 10 pigs and 2 of them have lipstick on, I think you know which ones you're going to be kissing. What I'm trying to say is that as women get fatter, the ones with a prettier face and better style are going to stand out from the crowd and get more attention from men. That's why we're seeing a rise in the plus-size couture fashion for hog beasts. Also, is it any wonder that men are increasingly getting erectile dysfunction as women are getting larger? One of the reasons I ended my last major long-term relationship was because my partner had health problems probably due to weight. Firstly, she was hiding them, and second, I knew that they were probably going to get worse and worse with time, and even though we actually have universal healthcare here in Canada, we would actually still have to pay for the overpriced medication for different health problems. Neither of us had a traditional job, so no drug plans, so I didn't actually want to be trapped in a relationship having to support my partner's conventional drug habit to keep her alive. This rise in the oversized average woman is probably why we're seeing thin shaming becoming so popular, because there's probably a cow tipping point where more women are obese than skinny, so it becomes socially acceptable to pack on the pounds, and if you don't, then you're basically shamed by the other women to do so. Most guys that are 7s on the attractiveness scale would probably not settle for a woman that you see in this particular BuzzFeed article. They would rather stay single or pay for sex occasionally. But that doesn't stop the shaming language. Far too often I see women here on this channel occasionally saying to many of the men, "You're waiting for the perfect woman. But you need to settle for the garden variety heifer and stop looking for a woman that smells nice and looks like a female human being, instead of a female walrus." Women are shaming men for not going out with oversized vixens, and they're also shaming skinny women for not eating out at the pig trough. I'm predicting that things will get worse and worse as time goes on. This is why recent life expectancy in the United States started going down, and the scientists are baffled. I don't think it should be baffling anyone when the average woman is 60 or 70 pounds overweight. The types of food we eat, namely corn and wheat, are causing this in addition to technology with regards to computers, phones, and social media. We are living increasingly sedentary lifestyles. Also, just a quick warning, don't look at this article unless you're prepared to use eye bleach. I know the pictures I'm showing everyone here are probably too much to bear, but trust me, the pics on that particular BuzzFeed article are even worse. I guess I should have put a warning in earlier, but when the types of women in this article are considered normal weight, I think we have a huge problem, no pun intended. Some people will argue that men are more visual when it comes to picking their partners, yet women are just as visual, if not more so, and yet their average size keeps going up and up. They expect that man to be muscular and work out, yet they increasingly pack on the pounds themselves. How is this fair to men that have worked out their entire lives? Many guys would rather stay single and hook up with the occasional hottie than be with today's average woman. Most guys I know would feel absolutely embarrassed to be seen in public with the woman in that particular BuzzFeed article. They would never be able to take such a woman home to meet the parents, and most of them would never imagine walking down the aisle with a woman like that. In 1960, the average weight for an American woman was 140 pounds, and in 2010, that average weight ballooned up to 170. But I don't think those numbers are all that accurate. Women that are a size 16 to 18 will be around 200 pounds. That means the average woman today has to be around 200 pounds if you believe this article. It depends on many things like height as well. Also, how do we know that these surveys are accurate? Because obviously most women are going to lie about their weight. That's pretty much a given. Also remember that the average woman's height is 5'4". So that being said, I'm 5'9" and I weigh 175 pounds. I could obviously stand to lose 5 pounds here and there, but if I was actually 5 inches shorter and weighed 190 pounds, I would be a butterball. So I can't imagine being a woman that size. The average woman is overweight, but inside, her mind has been indoctrinated with feminist ideas that she always has to be equal to or greater than the men around her, that the world owes her for all the so-called patriarchal oppression that her female ancestors have experienced at the hands of men. The same men, of course, that work to plow the fields and fight the wars. She's ugly to the majority of men on the outside because she's overweight, and yet at the same time she wants men to look at her frumpy body and drool at her feet. On the inside, the average woman is also ugly these days because she has all the power to destroy a man's life. And even if she doesn't take it, the majority of men that are married or in long-term relationships with kids are often afraid that they could lose everything. She is the supreme dictator, and men going their own way have declared independence. My experience in a city like Toronto is that the average woman is just waiting for a man to slip up to them and say or do something politically incorrect so she can pretty much whack him back in line. Men have to tread carefully when it comes to what we do, say, or speak because we have the overweight special snowflake Gestapo all over the place. To give you an example, a friend of mine was walking his dog and the animal pooped on a woman's lawn and she actually saw it. He went to respectfully scoop up the poop, but the problem was the dog had diarrhea and there was no way for him to physically pick up any of the dog poop. So he pretended like he did and kept on marching down the street. She, of course, wasn't satisfied and walked over to see if he'd actually cleaned up after his dog and noticed that he hadn't. Instead of just accepting what happened, she went after him as he was already halfway down the block. She weighed 250 pounds, yet she ran down the street after him like a 100-pound schoolgirl riding a bicycle. She also grilled him for 5 minutes and turned on her phone so she could record everything so he couldn't fight back. We spoke about how she used the excuse of him not cleaning up after his dog as an excuse to treat him poorly. It wasn't as if the water or rain wasn't just going to wash away the shit. The average woman is also ugly on the inside, and she's increasingly taking out her grievances on men throughout society. The average woman is gaining weight, yes, because of unhealthy corn syrup food, but women are increasingly unhappy with life here in Canada, so they're now overeating and overindulging to soothe their emotions. We often talk about feminism and traditionalism being two sides of the same coin. But under traditionalism, women don't tend to gain as much weight from emotional overeating. And who wouldn't be happy not having to go to work each and every single day, simply sitting around the house? The woman of the 1950s was like a house cat. Today's women need house cats to remind herself of what she actually lost. Anyways, now I want to move on to a different story. We know that besides being overweight, the average woman these days probably has a cat or two in her house. I, for one, like cats as well as dogs, but unfortunately, I'm allergic to cats, so they aren't for me. But the second article in the description is called All Hail the Rise of the Catman, an antidote to toxic masculinity. Apparently there's an online movement out there in Australia to make the Catman popular, and if that actually happens successfully, I guess the stigma associated with being a cat lady could actually die down. I guess that's the real idea behind the story and the campaign, but that's just my assumption. The supposed real reason that catmen are being promoted is because it makes men less toxic. The guys in this article look like weak beta males, and maybe that's just another reason. If catmen fall in love with their cats, then many women probably hope they won't be creepy enough to fall in love with them instead. The article also promotes this idea that there are now 1 million catmen in Australia. And one of the main quotes from this article is that it's now okay to show the world that you are a cat guy, that you're willing to clean shit out of a litter box and use clumping kitty litter. But make no mistakes about it, this is all about women trying to escape the stigma of crazy cat ladies by making it acceptable for men to be just as obsessed with them. They even have Dr. Heather Fraser, a senior lecturer in social work, currently working on a study called Feline Masculinities and the Rise of the Catman on social media. Why are women obsessed with the catman? Why are they trying to promote this as a good thing? Maybe there are a lot of guys out there that when they see dating profiles online, see that she's a cat lady and they simply skip over her. I don't know. Or maybe many men say that they won't move in with a woman if she has a cat. I knew one woman that put her cat in a pound and it was eventually euthanized so she could move in with a guy. How's that for female nurturing? The stereotype that cats are feminine exists because cats aren't loyal to their owners. They found that when a person dies in their apartment, it sometimes takes days before a dog would begin to eat their master if the dog was starving. They just seem to have some sense of greater loyalty to not eat their masters. The cats, on the other hand, started eating their master only about 12 hours after. I'm sure that as the cat population expands along with the average female weight size, the cats will have plenty of aging human females to lick their chops on when they finally expire. I urge any man in Australia that's thinking of becoming a catman to just imagine himself becoming a feast for some great big cat. I urge everyone to look at the sad pictures in this article and you will see exactly what women want to do to the average beta male that's not sexually pleasant enough or attractive enough for them. The average woman, on the other hand, expects a top-notch man that's a 9 out of 10 or even 10 out of 10, and they're willing to share such a guy among many average oversized women. The pictures in this article are by a photographer named David Williams, and he created a book that shows the so-called catmen. Catmen are not the antidote to toxic masculinity. The real question we should be asking is, how do we get rid of toxic femininity? But of course, no one wants to discuss that. No one wants to admit that women can be bad as well, and the only bad behaviors apparently come from men. The average woman today is considered overweight, and yet that's not considered a bad behavior. Women are also trying to make it socially unacceptable to be male unless, of course, he's always on his best behavior. But it's all right to be a woman regardless of how bad or good the woman is acting. We know that some men out there are going to buy into this particular article about becoming a catman, and they will do it thinking that the average woman will want to date them and sleep with them. But the catman thing is just a shit test. When the man buys a couple of cats, he fails, and she doesn't want him anymore, and it's a great way for her to filter the losers from the dating pool. But these catmen need to remember that if they aim to be average themselves, they won't be able to get one of those average 200-pound sized 17 women. This is all tragic and dampens my spirits. Anyways, that's all I've got to say for today. Thanks again, Shannon, for your donation and letting me bring up these two topics. Don't forget to check out the MGTOW mystery link and also like this video. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills. And remember, a red pill a day keeps the average-looking pregnant cat ladies away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.